Oi, oi. So, this week I'm racing a couple of days. I'm at Cheltenham Friday. Obviously, Cheltenham goes on Friday, Saturday. Won't be there Saturday. Family life in it. And then Sunday I'm off to Aintree for a decent day out of a good few people, hopefully. So basically, probably going to be a little bit short on time for my normal sort of thing. Weekend declarations are out now. This feels like a good enough window for me to quickly record something with my views, looking at some of the entries. I know obviously I prefer to delve in a little bit deeper to give you more of a form of what I fancy, but I think for this weekend selections, especially when it comes to Friday, Saturday, if there's anything that I will be having a bet on, and it's probably very unlikely that I will, but if there are, I'll stick them on the Facebook page with selections and bets, and maybe do a quick video. But then hopefully I'm going to record some stuff Friday, record some stuff Sunday, and then next week I might have a half decent video coming out. I mentioned on my Facebook page as well about the fact that I'll be looking at doing a monthly anti-post thing, so that's hopefully going to go through. And then also I'm going to try and feed back what you guys fancy for certain races for the season. We did it last year. It was actually a really good pointer towards how we were viewing certain divisions, especially the novice stuff. But I want to keep this one quite short, so I'm going to skip through it. We're going to look at some of the entries. A lot of these entries will be first look for me. We're just going to quickly skim through anything that you guys might fancy at first glance. Then drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, just like and subscribe to the channel and just enjoy your weekend. So let's have a look at what there could be. So obviously Friday, Cheltenham's the main one to look at. There is obviously stuff going off across the other side of the sea, but hey ho, we're looking at Cheltenham for the purpose of this. Now, one thing I do have to really reiterate is, like, I get excited as much as the next man, but we are talking about very early races in the season. The ground at Cheltenham, I mean, there is rain forecast, but they know what they're doing. It was good to firm in places the other day when the going map came out. That's what you'll be able to see up on the screen above my head, like a bit of a going map. I'll update that as the week goes on. Obviously, this video will just stick as it is. But it'll be interesting to see who runs. There will be some nice horses running. What it means for clues towards the end of the season is very invariable. Like, it sounds harsh, but I don't think anything we're going to see winning over this weekend is probably going to be winning in March. But they're obviously, at least, and the bare minimum, and this again sounds quite harsh, but at least they're going to be some good yardsticks for other horses as they come through. We'll look at the Ballymore Novices Hurdle to begin with. We've obviously got Camprond in there 2 weeks after winning the Persian War. Is he going to run or not? I'd like to hope that he does come here, because on figures and all those sorts of things would have a proper serious chance. 3 in there for Gordon Elliott, all Pioneer Racing Club. Jamie's got an interest in Off Your Rocco. He's been running Sublime, so it'll be nice to see him come over, but I don't know who he's going to send. We know that he does have runners over here. Alan King's mentioned that Dow Horace Girl's in a couple of races and he's going to run somewhere. The Bomber Liston for Nicky Henderson, like, again, it's the naming sort of stuff. Like, it's within JP McManus, it's Nicky Henderson. It's a reasonable name. I don't know for definite what it's to do with, so I'm not going to make a fool of myself, but I know that it's to do with something Irish. I probably should have done a bit more research into that, but it's a well-named horse, so there was a lot expected of him. Finally came good over hurdles. We'll see how he goes. And then there's a few other types in there that, okay, maybe not be absolute worldies, but a nice, tidy enough race that looks in there. It wouldn't particularly be a race that I'll be getting excited to bet in there. I'd like to see Scatman run, really, but again, he's another one that ran fairly recently, so we'll just have to see how the race cuts up. But it is a Class 2. It's a reasonable race. If you go through the history of winners of the race, there are some reasonable names in there. I could be wrong, but I think the new one won this before he went and won the Ballymore the year that he won it. So it's not a complete and utter out of the question asked for one of these horses to win this and then go on to win at Cheltenham, despite the fact that I've just poo-pooed it right off the top of the show. It's more the fact that maybe the ground they're going to encounter, but good horses will win on anything, won't they? The Novices Chase, we get the likes of Al Dancer winning stuff like this, don't we? And again, not to be rude to some of these horses, but you wouldn't like to think that the Arkle winner is going to be in here, but you never know. I'd love to see Mick Pastor run. I think he's a horse that a lot of people got excited about, but he just didn't really do it, did he? Like in his juvenile things. I kind of put him up, I think I put him up for the Grand Annual last year, which didn't quite come to fruition. The fact that he's run this season and he's won quite nicely, and obviously that mark has shot up quite a bit. He's up £10 since the start of the season. Like, I think it shows the type of horse that he is. If we look at what Nichols has done since he came over, like, he was very poor at Cheltenham. It wasn't great when you see these horses coming round and running like that first time up, but he's running better on good ground, and I think maybe Nichols has decided that's maybe the key to him, but we'll see. But whatever it is, he's only a 5-year-old. he's good over fences, so I'd love to see him run. Again, Elliot's got a couple in here that could come over. We just don't know. Sebastopol for Tom Lacey. Now, Tom Lacey's absolutely flying at the moment. I did put something on my Facebook page about the fact that I didn't think he was in great form a couple of years ago and got a bit of maybe some stick for that. But this horse isn't a prolific winner, is he? Look, he's 2 wins out of 13 over hurdles, 142 rated, and he's progressed there by getting lots of these seconds. I think he's a nice horse. I think he'll be really good this season. Anything that Tom Lacey's going to then stick back over fences is good. You can see he's been within the family from a while back. So I think Sebastopol, this could be the coming of age of him this year. So I want to see him run. Third time lucky, we obviously want to see. And Nasalam, I think I put him up for the Triumph last year, which was woeful. Didn't run that great in the Fred Winter, to be honest with you, but I'd love to see him go, despite the fact that I say 4-year-olds will not win an Arkle. We know because they'll be turning 5, but he won't. But looks a potentially pretty tidy race. And I haven't even mentioned everything that's in there. So there's a couple of other names that could run in there that could go well, but maybe slightly more excited towards the Novices Chase than I am the Ballymore Trial, but hey-ho. Then we've got a Novices Hurdle, 3-mile Novices Hurdle. Now, these are the sorts of races that I love in the beginning of the season. I like an Albert Bartlett horse to have a bit of 2-mile speed as well, so maybe we'll just get a few plotters in here. You might get a few of the summer horses in here. I think Streets of Doyen maybe won this one last year, and then he did progress into a potential spring horse, although that didn't quite come to fruition and him actually do so well. David Pipe putting Cyril Delac in here is massively interesting because Novices Hurdle, we know how good Cyril Delac is, and he did something similar with Ramses Deteye, like took advantage of his handicap mark. So be very interesting to see whether he sticks Cyril Delac in the Novices Hurdle, to be honest with you. Again, the much of a much between the rest of them. I would dig in more to the form if I was going to have a look to have a bet, but I probably wouldn't be looking to have a punt in there unless something really jumped out, a massive piece of value, but then it would only be small stakes, and that's not really the system I'm playing this year. Limited Novices Handicap Chase, this will be a nice race. Kadzand hopefully will run here, was due to run the other day and obviously didn't. 50 Bulls interesting with Gary Moore, so he could have a couple that are going out. Danny Kerr want to be interesting. Sam Barton, I think this horse has got loads more wiggle off of 132, so I'd like to see him run. And then there's other horses. Solarara one, I think, was behind Pictor when he fell the other day. There's just some potentially nice horses. I know John McConnell will bring horses over, so there's a few that I've skipped over of his that may be of interest. Again, I'm just conscious of trying to not rush through this, but just have a quick rundown of some of the ones that are in there, and then I'll delve into it more when I fancy something. A few names in here as well, isn't there? There's the Dow Horace Gale again for Alan King. Captain Morgs, there was talks of that horse being an absolute aeroplane at one point, weren't there? He's 125 in a potential handicap hurdle. There's a few in there. Fire Me as well for Gordon. If you brought him over for 118, be interesting. But that's like a nice enough race, and you can see the difference there. We've got the top end of it being 140 rated, and it's nice to see that we get some entries towards the top end of it. So we could see a relatively decent handicap hurdle there. I would imagine the fields are going to cut up a bit. We've got quite a lot of entries that are in there, but it depends obviously how well they look after the course. They will obviously do the best. Just depends how much juice they can maybe get into it or see what they're going on with it. The Amateur Jockeys Handicap Chase is an interesting one. Like Fostinovic, for my sins, I still think this horse has got an absolute monster engine inside him. He's like guaranteed he's a full-blown rogue. I remember watching him at Chepstow. I think it was the Bowen brothers going against each other. I'd backed him the week before at Chepstow, and he made a bit of a mistake, but it probably wasn't enough to cost him the race. Then he ran against Supreme Escape. I think it was him and James going against each other, yeah. And Sean just sat too quiet on him, but then maybe he was trying to deliver him at the right time, but the horse just wouldn't go through with it, basically. And then you can see a couple of times there, they've been close enough finishes in behind. But this horse is miles better than 125. Yeah. I think he is. It's a fact. He's capable of much more than that. Whether he wants to do it or not, I don't know. And it's a very different comparison to maybe you look at Sky Pirate, how he was looking like he wasn't putting it all in. They found the new trip. That seems to work for him. And then he's gone and won by distances. There's time for this horse to change. And I think that stepping up in trip, campaigning him over the longer distances this season is going to see him come to the fore. I think 125 massively underestimated. But because of the fact that he is a dodge, couldn't really be looking to punt him in any way, shape or form. A few other nice names that could be in there, but he would really be the one that would jump out to me. I do like Redford Road. I don't think we've seen his full potential. Whether there's been an issue with him or I don't know, but he hasn't really shown what he's capable of. But yeah, Fostinovic would be the one for me to watch in that particular race. And I think Joe Tizard has said that he's going to run there in a recent stable tour, so it's always good. Then we've got 2 Mile Maiden Hurdle. Slate House won this a few years ago. Was it Dame de Compagnie he went against? There was a Nicky Henderson horse it went against where they were basically both horses were raved about. Slate House, I think, was one of the highest rated or the most respected point-to-point horses that season. Coming into it, some big names that will potentially be in there. It's the yards as well, isn't it? It'll be interesting to see who runs. I know the owners group people who want to see Stage Star out. Looks like he's got a bit of potential, to be fair. Then there's a few others, but again, we just want to see Final Deck. That would very much be a fact finding mission. Like, there's nothing that I've got my eye on before confirmations that I'd be really, really keen to get too excited about. So, looks nice racing on the Friday, to be fair, given the time of the season that it is. And I've mentioned a few that I might quite like. Cheltenham, I've not really looked on Saturday at the races, but without further ado, we'll skim through this. And then maybe I'll just decide whether I have a quick skim at Aintree because I'll be going there, or whether I just leave Aintree alone. We'll see how long it takes me to waffle on here. So, conditional jockeys handicap hurdle over 2 mile. Again, it will be interesting to see who runs in here, but just skimming down the names so far. Summer Eve just looks a bit interesting. Timberman, they never really got to the best of him at Henderson. I don't know whether they will be able to at Fergal's either. Like, that's not to say that Fergal couldn't do it, but he was always potentially well regarded, wasn't he? And I think he might be a good worker at home. So I'm looking at this. This Summer Eve, like 132 rated 4-year-old, obviously come over from France, typical of the connections. That's a convincing margin to go and win a race. And I'll be honest, it's not a race that I remember watching, although I'm sure I will have done. When we look at some of the older horses that run in this race, you're hoping that you're going to have a few hurdle runs to maybe compare it against. This horse has obviously come out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 since, rated 110 and been beaten Fav a few times in there. So, I mean, that doesn't look the strongest of form, but then he's beaten a 6-year-old by 13 lengths. So, like there, makes him 120s probably. And then we'll have a skim down for Chives. He's a horse I do remember. Has come out and won, so 116, and he was a little bit further back. Not surprised he's won a novice handicap hurdle off 100, is it? 25 behind. So, I mean, like there, if you put that like into full-blown literal context, 25 behind there, a horse winning on handicap debut at 100. And looking at the other horse, you'd probably say 125 for this horse would be about it. And he's 132 rated. Lorcan gets to claim a few off. Like, there's potential there, but wouldn't look utterly thrown in. So, well done, Dave. Just wasted a little bit of time for everybody there. They would be the types of races, not because it is conditional jockeys in there, but they would be the types of races where I wouldn't be getting overly excited about looking at something in there. Oh, hello. So, Class 2 handicap. So, this is the same class of races that Ballymore is on the first day. Cloth caps in there. Obviously, the Hennessy win last year. Go another one, John McConnell. He's going to have some runners, isn't he? Manila Bobo will be interesting. I'm probably wrong, but I have a feeling that this horse was entered to run recently and didn't. Maybe it had an entry and it wasn't going to run, but jumped up in the weights, isn't it? Trucker's Lodge right down the bottom. Shoal Bay's in there. Like, he's definitely, well, I don't know if he's much better than 137, but he's a potential one. Redford Road could run in that race, stepping up in trip. So that's like less of an interesting one for me. But I'm sure there'll be some in there that are maybe trying for a prep run, and some will be trying for the case of winning it. Oh, here we go. On to the Masterson Holdings Hurdle. So I like this race typically. Normally they're saying over the summer that I might think about that I'd have an idea for it. I was speaking to a friend the other day and there wasn't anything that I really had in mind. And I said to him, is there anything you thought about for this race? He'd come back with the same. Although, to be fair, he wouldn't normally be thinking that far ahead. So it was a sort of plucking at thin air sort of thing that maybe we would have had something. Michael Masterson that sponsors this race, he's the owner of, or involved in those Appreciate It Silks, so that's his horse. And then I think he was involved with Neon Wolf as well. So he puts tons into the game. I think this is a really respectful race to go in. And looking at the entries as well, it actually looks the nuts, doesn't it? Like Zanahir, Gordon Elliott talked to the Racing Post the other day. I didn't read it all properly, but I don't remember seeing Zanahir was being mentioned as coming over, but love to see it, wouldn't we? I did think in that Triumph first impression, coming back last year, that like I feel like he could have run like much closer than that. But you just don't know with the Punchestown form after. Like, I don't know. But like, I think he's good. Well, I don't think that's saying too much. Tritonic, I think's good as well. Again, I don't think that's saying too much. The same guy that I was chatting to about the Masters and there was anything that he liked, he mentioned about I like to move it on debut. He's just saying that what do I make of him? Like, how much of a good horse do I think he is? And I sort of poo-pooed him a little bit because he got beaten Newbury when I backed him. I thought he was going to be the next Ballyandy for the yard, go and win the Newbury bumper and then come and win at Cheltenham. He was okay in the race. It was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? Because it's not your typical bumper jockeys for Ireland riding in that race, whereas it's the same guys that would have been riding over here. So they should have been maybe, like they're all good jocks, of course they are, but maybe you would have expected the English to do, or British to run a little bit better than maybe they would have done if it was down to the amateurs. I don't know. Decent winner at Worcester the other day. I'd like to see this one come over here and run because earns a crack at the race. It looks a nice one. I haven't even mentioned Stepney Causeway for Dan Skelton, and on figures is good. Obviously strung a sequence of one. The most interesting one would be Zanahir if he came over. Whether he does or not, I don't know. I think Tritonic is a serious horse as well. Looks a nice race. So yeah, bang a bit of that in. And then what have we got next? 2 mile handicap chase, another class 2. Fanny and Destraval. I'm sure that was a middle distance horse, wasn't it? Fidelo Valle. So that would be interesting for Nichols. Obviously got beat by the Lacey horse the other day at Chepstow. Sky Pirate, we talked about him. I think he may go. Ooh, Void de Rev, that was a guilty pleasure a few years back, wasn't it? Stolen Silver, 136. Interesting one. Philip Hobbs is obviously flying at the start of this season. Touched on that in the trainer stats, didn't I, about how the difference it can make from one to another year. Nothing huge really getting me too excited in there, but I'm sure I'd have an opinion nonetheless when it comes to the day. 3 more to do for Cheltenham Saturday. I think maybe we'll quickly have a look at Aintree just for the sake of getting it in, and then we'll leave it as that. Pete Farr, born Patriot for the Potemps Handicap Hurdle. He brought Soviet Pimpernel over, didn't he, for the Mastersons when we got done by Grandsons, and it was just a better ride from Harry Cobden. Not that I'm bitter about that in the slightest. So I'll be interested in anything that he's going to send over. Panic Attack in there. Remember all that money and how great it was going to be because Willie won a market raise and bumper. That looks a fairly tidy race, to be honest. Some nice names in there. A few that you'd be expecting to do different things at the end of the season, but get them qualified nice and early. Got the option towards the end. Yeah, looks all right, doesn't it? So we'll see how that one goes. Definitely a race you want to be watching for the qualification purposes, just to see. But I do think there's a few trainers that come and hit that race because it's early in the season and they know a few will be happy with places. You've got the rest of the season to get your mark down as well, haven't you? 3 mile novices chase. I think it was Black Court, wasn't it, a few years back that mopped up in this. Does he know if Kim Bailey, again, run at Chepstow, whether he'll run in here or not, I don't know. I'd like to hope that he does. Nice to get some experience round here. Streets of Doyen, we touched on him, didn't we? Obviously won at the meeting last year. Like Barbados Beck should be a better horse over fences, but that's typical of a Nichols horse, isn't it? Like I want Does he know to run, but whether he will or not, I don't know. But could be an okay race. We'll see. And then the finale on the Saturday, which I don't know if I'll survive my way through to, is the bumper. Let's just have a quick skim and see if anything jumps out off the top. No. You'll be pleased to hear me say no. So there's no like massive names from over the summer that I've got on my short list that have ended up in here, but I think that's ground and things dependent. And the fact we are still early in the season. Let's have a quick look at Aintree because I will be there and I'm interested to see. Starting off the same as we were at Cheltenham with a conditional jockey's handicap hurdle. AC Milan won the 4-year-old bumper, didn't he, at Cheltenham? Another one that, I don't know, some of these horses that get reasonable bumper performances, you don't know how they're going to stay on. Oh, look at Della Arca. What a boy. Interesting Una Mass in there, given he's just recently run. Nothing screams out as an obvious one there, but I'm going to seriously delve into Aintree because I'm going with a few good judges. I want to make sure I'm prepared for that, but I will probably wait until I get back Friday night from Cheltenham to delve into that and then get a good stuck in on the Saturday. Any bets for Aintree would be struck on the day, I think. I won't be worried about missing overnight prices. Veterans Handicap Chase, back the 10-year-olds. There's plenty of them in there. There's only 10s and 11-year-olds, to be fair. It'll be an interesting one. There is a blind stat that if you back the 10-year-olds and that going into these veterans races, you do all right. But there'll be more to it than that race. There'll be some stats and stuff that may prove worthwhile. I think the weather forecast is for rain on Sunday, which, as much as I'm going racing, would be a lovely thing to see. A bit of cloud cover, because then we won't have the fences doled off for low summer like we've had in previous years. Old Roan, I think All Mankind was confirmed that this was a target for him. Cracking Destiny, I remember when he was Gretchen Park in, thought he could be better. Fusel's recently run though. Reserve Tank. Windsor Avenue. Tasty race, isn't it? Tasty Old Roan. So yeah, be very interesting to see who goes itchy feet in there as well. So yeah, again, we need to get to final fields in there, but that's the sort of race that I'll start digging into now to find out what I fancy. Nothing, again, I've got penciled in for the race or anything that I'm already excited about. 2.5 mile maiden hurdle. Anything screaming here. It's also nice to look at these for the ones that compare to entries at Cheltenham. A couple of Harry Fry entries are always interesting. My eye, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure was fab for that bumper at Newbury when I like to move it running there. So, I think he's very well regarded. Missed, obviously, the spring with him in there as well. So, I don't know. Yeah, he'd be very interesting in there. Let's just have a quick look at the dam side just to see if there's anything else in there that... Oh, look at that. Half brother to Statler. All right, my eye is very interesting in the 2.5 mile maiden hurdle at Aintree. Again, I haven't delved into all the other runners, so it might be a bit of a swing and a miss, but he'd be one that's definitely on my radar for the time being before we dig in a little bit more. 2.5 mile handicap hurdle, so that would be good to compare the times of the two. Not that I'm overly keen on it, but I like to have a look. Native River in there. Do you know what the beauty of Native River was? When he he fell into favouritism for the Gold Cup the year that lots of horses just didn't run. But he went over hurdles at the beginning of that season, which was this one here. And I remember I backed him in this race, stupidly, I got beat. But I backed him in this race, and I backed him before it for both the Stayers hurdle and the Gold Cup, because there was comments in there. Now, both of them were cash backable, or cash outable. But I was thinking he was 40s for the Gold Cup at that point. And obviously goes in and does his bits. We had a little go on him for the Welsh National. We had him in the Hennessy. I think we had him in the Hennessy the year before as well. Yeah, we did. Oh no, that's not the Hennessy, is it? Anywho, I'm warbling. Anywho, yeah, Native River. So be interesting to see him back over hurdles of 155. Is all I'm saying. He's a proper decent hurdler. Interesting. Yeah, man, that's the one that would end up luring me in massively. Again, it'll be a race that I need to delve into a little bit more. Trip's obviously too short for the old boy, and clearly probably some sort of prep run, but we'll see what the trainer quotes and stuff are around there. Novices handicap chase over 3 mile 1 this early in the season, so you're probably expecting some summer jumpers in there, or at least some horses with experience to be going. Nothing in there screams out to me as a name again. And then what have we got for the finale? Is it anything exciting at Aintree on Sunday? It's a mare's bumper. Not going to be anything probably jumping out. Honeyball has a few good mares, doesn't he? That seem to pop up and do something. So no doubt he's got something lined up for this. I'd keep an eye on whichever Honeyball runs in here. This is the GG Silks. Now, it's going to kill me now for forgetting the name of the horse that was running quite well before Constantine Bay in the family. Who's the one that they had? Is it Cockerly? That's the one. Cockerly K or something like that, wasn't it? Cockerly. Anywho, I'd be interested in whatever Honeyball runs in there, but again, I'd need to delve into it a little bit more. So any bets that I will be putting on for the weekend, I'll stick something up somewhere, whether it's on the Facebook page, do a little daily video. I think the days I'm going racing, I do that Friday and Sunday. So before racing, I'll let you know what I've had play on if I have, even if it's just doubles, block bets or whatever it is. Looks okay racing, didn't it? But let's just remember that let's not get overexcited this early in the season. We've got some more stuff ramping up as we go in. Back end of next week, I'll be peeling out a couple of videos, something showing what I've done over the weekend. That might come out at the start of the week. And then I'll be putting out another video where it's your guys' thoughts for how the season's going to be. And then we'll be getting right to the end of the month. So I'll wait until literally the month's ended. And then the week after, early on, I'm going to get out my first anti-post Cheltenham positional view. I'm not putting any anti-post bets on this year. or if I do, they'll be very far and few between. So it'll be more a position of me saying, for each of the big races, this is my viewpoint, these are the ones that I fancy, and any suggestions will be noted up on the screen, and then each month we'll compare how our positions may have changed or views may have changed, and then we'll see if we can pinch out some value at any point in between those. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and speak to you on the other side.